Hi everyone, I want to introduce you to Leishan. Leishan's from South Africa and she's currently in Cape Town. Leishan was in the industry for 8 years and she started off as a sole chef and moved her way up to a head chef. So welcome, Leishan.
Thank you, Karine.
Okay, so Leish, can you tell us about how you heard about the industry?
I was living in London at the time, and a friend of mine that I was working with had a friend who was working on a boat in the Caribbean, and it sounded like an exciting adventure, and so that's where I first heard of it.
Okay, awesome. And how did you get into yachting?
I basically just headed to Antibes, popped myself in a crew house or hostel, whatever, and I just handed out my CVs left, right, and center, walked the docks, all that jazz, and went from there.
Okay. And did you have a strategy, or was there something that worked over something else? Like, was dock walking beneficial, or was it the networking out at nighttime? What worked for you?
I did a lot of dock walking, but I didn't get a job through dock walking. I actually got it through a friend. So I would say networking is probably the biggest thing. My friend went for an interview. Like, my CV was up in the same place that her CV was up. And they didn't phone me, and I was more qualified for the position, but they phoned her, but she didn't want the job, so she sent me, and then I went for the interview, and then I got it. So as long as you can get yourself in there, I reckon that's the way forward.
Perfect. I like that. Okay, so can you tell us about how your first job, what that was like for you? So you told us how you got a friend, but yeah, what was your first experience like?
Okay, it was a little bit random, a little bit crazy. It was a tiny boat. The captain, I went for the interview, and I think the next day the job started. I had to jump in the car with this wild, unusual Lebanese man, French Lebanese. Yeah. I hopped in the car with him, and we drove from France to Italy. And got in this boat and didn't really know what I was doing, but I just went with it, roll with it. And 8 years later, I was still loving it. So yeah, it was an unusual boat, but I had a great time. It was nice owners, a lot of politics, a lot of drama, but at the same time, good experience.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So if you could pass on your wisdom to other crew, is there a tip you would like to share in particular to help them out?
I would say when looking for a job, I would rather ask about crew in the interview. Like, I think crew is the most important. It's more important than the salary of the boat or where the boat's going. Because sometimes you might be going to amazing places, but you've got terrible crew. It's not ideal. I think if you've got a good crew, you generally going to be happy. And that's, I think, the most important part. Because generally the money is going to be good wherever you go.
That's a good point. How do you figure that out in an interview? Like, what sort of questions would you ask to find out about the crew?
I would say ask, how long the crew have been on board for, what kind of crew turnover it is. If the crew are married, if they live on land and they're married and they're going home every night, it's not going to be much of a crew environment.
Or experience,
yeah, ask where the crew are from. If they're all French speaking and you're English and you don't speak French, that's not going to be a good. I mean, you're not going to be able to connect as much.
Yeah.
you know, if you speak the same languages, if you've got similar cultures. It's nice if you want to work with people of different cultures, depending on what your interest is, you know.
That's a great tip. Thanks, Leish. So you worked your way up to the top. I'm not too sure if you were ever involved in the recruitment process.
As in, when I was a head chef, I had to hire my sous chefs.
Sous chef, yes. Okay.
So if that's what you're referring to.
Yes. So when you were hiring, what qualities were you looking for? Touching on what we discussed about
personality would be the biggest thing for me. So I know a lot of the phone call to the actual person would play the biggest role for me. I feel like you can get a feel just chatting to person and not necessarily asking the specific questions, how long you've been in the industry, just chatting in general and just what they're interested in. You know, you can kind of get a vibe from somebody. I think attitude is way more important than anything else.
Yeah.
If someone's got a good attitude, you can teach them things, and they're open to learning, then I think that's the biggest thing.
That makes sense.
For me, at least.
Yeah, great. Okay, so closing off, last question. What is your most memorable moment on board?
Oh, on board or while in yachting? On board or while in yachting?
Whatever you would like.
I have one day which stands out for me so much. It was in the Caribbean. We, a whole bunch of us crew, did like a day trip. We got on a boat, the speedboat, and it went off like an hour or two just into the sea and came to the sandbank little islands, and there was rum punch flowing, and we were swimming with little sharks and stingrays and the most beautiful water you've ever seen, eating lunch and just having a general fabulous time. It was amazing, and that really stands out. But that's what yachting is, I think, just a lot of those experiences.
Yeah, and we're all after that, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Okay, thanks, Leish, for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries, hon.